I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpm.fm to discover more.
I think one of my big takeaways is when I invest in my creative self, the universe responds.
Oh, hello, friends. It's Susan Blackwell.
And Laura Camion from The Spark File, where we believe everyone is creative, but smart creatives don't go it alone.
Hey, we've got some exciting news. Doors are officially open for the fall 2026 cohort of The Spark File Blaze.
Blaze is our transformational group coaching program designed to help you stop sitting on your creative ideas and finally make them real.
So you bring the dream, the book, the business, the podcast, the screenplay, your vision for the next chapter of your life, and we provide the accountability and structure to help you build the momentum and courage to actually follow through.
Inside Blaze, you'll get world-class coaching, powerful curriculum, and a deeply supportive creative community that wants to see you succeed.
And here's a hot tip. This may be the last Blaze cohort we offer for the foreseeable future. What?
So if there's a creative project calling to you, if you've been waiting for the right time, if part of you knows that you are meant to make a bigger creative leap, this is your sign.
Head to thesparkfile.com to learn more and book a free, fun, no pressure discovery call with us.
Here's what some of our clients have to say about it.
One of my biggest takeaways from the Spark File is a renewed sense of forward movement.
Considering the possibility that people might like what I create, which is great.
That fear is not a valid reason to delay your creative goals.
Go to thesparkfile.com to learn more about Blaze.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come experience the beauty that awaits in Scotland. The sweep of wild coastlines, quiet lochs, and untamed landscapes. Fresh cuisine that feels rooted in the land. Come experience the kind of stillness that stays with you long after you leave. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
The Sparkfile podcast may contain profanity and other adult content.
Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Welcome to the Spark File, where we believe everyone is creative, but smart creative people don't go it alone.
I'm Laura Camion.
And I'm Susan Blackwell, and we are creativity coaches who help people clarify and accomplish their creative goals.
You ought to know that just by listening to this podcast, you're joining a warm and wonderful clan of creatives.
But you may also be asking yourself, what exactly is a Spark File?
A Spark File is a place where you consistently collect all of your inspirations and fascinations. Every episode, we're going to reach into our very own Spark Files and exchange some sparks. And from time to time, we may even talk to some folks who spark us too.
And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take some of those sparks of inspiration and make something of your own. So without further ado, let's open up
the Spark File.
Laura Camion, hi.
Susan Blackwell, good morning to you.
Friends, we're recording on a really fun day. Just hours ago, we completed the Illume Showcase, which is the capstone event for our Illume Mastermind course, and it's held in New York City. This year, we held it in my dream space at the Loft at Ars Nova. Very salon-like atmosphere, and
cozy and intimate and
rockin' like dockin'.
How could it be all those things at once?
It was so farkin' fun. I don't know how it could have gone better.
I can't think of a thing, genuinely. And we've had debriefs. We've talked with everybody. We circled up. How's everybody feel? It was really magical.
For our clients, we have private messaging threads so that they can be in contact with Laura and myself. They can be in contact with their coaches. And I did exchange a message with one of our clients who was like, "Oh, the drop is real, like the after
That is
drop."
real.
Yeah. And I was like, I feel you. I feel like I've been pulled in the best possible way out of a washing machine myself. And I referred them back to the episode of the podcast that we did just this season about creative hangovers, because
Yes.
that is what it is.
Yes. And I have actually gotten better. I'm really let me just pat myself on the back while we're all here. I noticed that I have gotten better at doing the thing that we talk about, which is planning for creative recovery time. And I always think this is a household that loves LeBron James. And so we talk a lot about like what athletes do after a game, everything from the ice baths and the seeing of a medical person and the sleep and like everything is accounted for of like, how can I take care of this vessel that I'm in, from the chemical cascade, to the effect that it's having on, every cell in my body. And I have like learned to really think ahead on that. Yes. And so I got a massage. I sat in a steam bath and like literally thought about like just sweating out all of the worries, all of the fears. It was just like, it's very, very good. And I was like, yeah, this is how you do it.
That is how you do it. Laura, what a smarty you are. That is so smart.
Thank you.
Do you want to share one of your favorite aspects of the Illume Showcase? I know that we had 11 people presenting. We could talk about each and every one of them, but that would be the entire podcast. So globally speaking, what was one of your favorite things about the Illume Showcase?
Yeah, I would say, globally speaking, I was dazzled by how every single one of these Illumineers had set a goal for themselves, set an intention for the day. When the day arrived and all those feelings come up that are like, why did I say I wanted to do this? Why? They all tapped back into their, their goals, their desires, their intention, and then they lived it. And I know for me at the beginning of the day, my intention was ease and joy, not perfection, very much not perfection, but to be okay with and live with like, hey, this is who I am today. This is how that came out of my mouth. Enjoy it. And that's what we did. I watched every single person step up to that mic, do their thing, and have a sense of enjoyment, which was beautiful.
It's a wild thing to see that many people, person after person, by design, step up and take a really strategic, creative risk, whatever that meant to them. They all did it. And it's like watching a miracle, little gods,
one after another,
making miracles right in front of your eyes.
It's so inspiring.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah. How about you, Susan?
I think one of my favorite things about the day is that, there's a lot of adrenaline, but it's also the audience that comes.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, family, industry professionals, they are so open-hearted and so encouraging. And it is this creativity party. It's really, really fun.
It's so supportive. Like, I don't know about you. I'm remembering a moment that we haven't talked about. It's so supportive, like being cradled in these like hands of just love. And I want you to excel. I want to celebrate you and elevate you, which is the whole thing that we dream of creating. There was a moment where I almost started to cry at the end, where we're about to thank everybody for what it meant for them being here. And I had like a little, and the people in that room were so attuned, like so attuned. The audience goes, "Aw." And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys. And all of a sudden, like, I felt like I didn't need to cry. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, everybody was like right there. They're so intuitive. They're so empathic. They're so compassionate. And so connected.
Yeah, really great, warm room, a lot of laughs. Oh my
Oh boy.
God.
Oh boy.
There was a moment built into the show where Laura Camion just like stomped down the aisle to spotlight the swag bag set to Purse First by Bob the drag queen. That tickled me so much. And also Anne-Marie Piersma, OG
Oh,
Sparkfiler,
yes.
did with her company Trust Your Taste customized cheese pairings that kind of spotlit every single Illumineer. And that it was
Amazing.
delicious. It was fun. It was just a party. It was a
It was
creativity
just a
party.
party. And
Yeah.
those cheese pairings are like the most incredible way to feel seen, to make someone feel seen, to be like, look, I saw the essence of you.
Yes.
And I felt this and I felt this, and I've made this combination representing you, the beauty of you, the weirdness of you, the uniqueness of you.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And we took that moment and made it a moment where people in the audience met each other. And I can't even tell you the number of people that were like, oh my God, the person that I met during that moment, like, I didn't even realize like who is gathered here today, who you invite into this circle is extraordinary. I'm like, yeah, you all are amazing and you should know each other. You
Yeah.
should know each other in this community.
And you should be memorialized in cheese.
And that's right.
I have to say, and this is an endorsement. This is an endorsement. It is unpaid and it comes from the bottom of my heart. As somebody who has done a lot of event planning, I've worked in
Mhm.
offices where I was charged with that. I've worked with a lot of event planners. If you're the kind of person who is in a role where you are charged with planning events, weddings, corporate events, what have you, you need to go Google Trust Your Taste. Anne-Marie Petersma's company. She's a certified cheese professional.
That's right.
And if you want to make your event special, get Anne-Marie Petersma to create customized cheese pairings in honor of, it could be your brand, it could be the happy couple getting married. Like
your wedding reception, your anniversary, birthdays.
it is so delightful. I feel like it ups the delight quotient. I was like, this is the thing that has made this event, which is already extra. It's made it extra. It was so special.
And I just want to say we get dibs on Anne-Marie for every Illume showcase from here till the end of time. So no, you can't book her on that day, whenever it is.
Pick a different day.
Dibs.
Pick a different day. Dibs. Laura.
Susan.
Congratulations on successfully navigating the Illume showcase. Would you like to give me a spark?
I've got a spark. I am excited to spark you with this today. It's kind of fun. It's kind of deep. It could go in 1,000 directions. So we're going to see what exactly happens. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, the craziest thing happened. I am working at my favorite cafe, as I do, and it's nearing the end of the day, and Wes calls me. That's not the crazy part. But Wes calls me and he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm about to kind of pack up and head home. Why? What are you doing? And he says, I'm at Barnes and Noble. And I thought maybe you'd want to meet. You could meet me around here. We could go to dinner. I'm like, you said what now? You're where now? And he says, I'm at Barnes and Noble. I read the description of a new book and I had to come get a copy. They didn't have any left at Strand.
Wow.
Friends, that's exactly right, Susan. That's what I said. Wow. Like my jaw hit the floor. You read a book description and you had to go get it immediately for you. This is a book you want to read, not for me. I'm not saying that Wes never reads. I'm just saying I haven't seen him with a physical book in his hand for a long time. This is a man who is more likely to have drumsticks or mallets or a guitar or a banjo or a washboard or spoons, anything that can make music in his hands. And please trust me, he is literate in ways that I am not. So I have the ultimate respect. I'm not saying this with any judgment. I just haven't known him to read a book description, drop everything, and walk to the bookstore to go get it. So I say, what book is it? And he tells me the name of the book. And this is the craziest part. Susan, I was like, shut the F up. I just read the description of that book and I have already ordered it. It's going to arrive tomorrow.
Amazing.
Now, that is something very like me to do. I will get a book. Someone will tell me about a book. I'll get it in 30 seconds if I think I want it because I don't want to forget and never remember to get that book. So that was very like a me thing to do. But Wes and I reading the same description and acting on it immediately, this is like lightning striking twice in the same two spots simultaneously. This is a very unlikely occurrence. And yet here we are. So would you like to know the description of the book?
I would love to.
Okay. I will also add that we both read that Anne Hathaway has already bought the movie rights to this book. Here is the description. A trad wife influencer named Natalie wakes up in the world she was cosplaying online in the year 1855 and has to live the life she was so enthusiastically promoting.
Wow. If that book had a finger, that book's finger would be on the pulse of the culture.
And I have to say, it's one of those ideas. It doesn't happen often, but it does sometimes happen. It's one of those ideas that made me think, damn it.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of it? It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Now, having read the book, Wes finished it before I did, by the way, I can say this. It did not end up being the story that I would have written. It's not the story that immediately appeared in my head. Yeah. And that's okay. It was still great and it's worth reading. And frankly, probably went even deeper in ways that I didn't expect or didn't think of right away. But it is a great example of how you can take a log line, a single sentence description of a story, give it to 10 different people, and you will get 10 different stories. So if that logline excited any of you the way it excited me, don't worry, you can still write your version of that story. So today's Spark, this is not a critique or a book report. This book is at the top of the New York Times bestseller list right now. People are scrambling to get their copies. So I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. I'm not going to get into specific plot stuff, but I would like to talk about the topics that get explored in the book rather than tell you all the details. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. The New York Times says, Yesteryear. Did I say the name of the book? The book is Yesteryear.
I don't think so. Yesteryear.
Yeah, the name of the book is Yesteryear. New York Times says Yesteryear is a thriller and a scathing critique of how women perform for the internet. It's also a book all about religion, belief, and delusion. Other descriptions say that Yesteryear explores the dark side of American nostalgia, influencer culture, and the trad wife, traditional housewife movement. I wrote a few things in the margin as I read, which is what I do and why I have to have a physical book because I have to make little notes everywhere. So here's the first thing I wrote about 5 pages in. I wrote, "Oh, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves." Have you ever heard someone describe an aspect of themselves and think, that doesn't quite compute. That doesn't align with my experience of that person. Like there's a disconnect there.
Yes, I have.
So to me, this is one of the most interesting things you can give a character that you are writing, a belief about themselves that runs counter to their behavior and the way that other people see them. I love this because it is such a human thing. I don't know right now why I'm thinking of Willie Loman, right? Your Death of a Salesman. This idea, he has this grandiose idea about himself and his life. But what we're watching is like, that isn't the way the people around you respond to you. So something is off.
Yeah.
So there's so many fascinating examples of that. in this particular case, there is a through line about this main character that makes her, for some people, really unlikable. That's some of the criticism that people are like, oh, I wish she was more likable. But I found it fascinating. As a person who lived the first part of my life building what I thought was, quote unquote, the perfect life, well, actually being completely disconnected from my authentic self, I related to this aspect of her, the part of her that just had to keep repeating something over and over to herself as if she was willing it to be true. In her case, she says, and who was I? A flawless Christian woman, the manic pixie American dream girl of this nation's deepest, darkest fantasies, the mother every woman wanted to be, and the wife every man wanted to come home to. She says, sometimes it actually makes me sick how perfect my life is and how good I am at living it. I mean, there are times when you just want to punch this woman in the face. But actually, what I was struck with was sadness because she really wasn't fooling anyone. And the way the book is written, you can see that she wasn't fooling anyone.
Wow.
In fact, the only way that she could fool anyone is by curating a life for her online followers.
Yeah.
That's it. And through that world, through that lens, she could become who she was trying to believe that she really was. In that world, she could almost believe the story that she told herself about herself.
Wow.
Obviously, I'm fascinated by this. But this leads to the idea of digital performance. That is another theme of the book. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. But in this case, the specific performance of idealized religion and patriarchal gender roles. Ugh, Susan. When it comes to the patriarchy, I can't speak for the author or what she was going for, but what kept coming up for me is the internalized misogyny that women inflict on themselves and on other women.
Yeah.
When we internalize these ideas of what it means to be a woman or a good woman specifically, to be perfect, to never express a need, to never express a less than attractive emotion, to never be a bother to anyone, to be a perfect mother, it was kind of hard for that to be mirrored back, honestly. I just know too many women who have some level, even if small, of this breed of perfectionism and the belief that if they can just do everything right, they can avoid any negative emotions or negative experiences. The book is pretty brutal about this. It's pretty brutal. But as it relates to women, internalized misogyny and how they pass it on to each other, there is a very painful thread that runs through this book about the betrayal she feels from her mother and from every other woman in her life. She can't express it, of course, but it is seething under the surface. She believes that every woman is a liar and that lying is in a woman's nature. Even her daughter is a liar just by the nature of being female.
Is that some old Adam and Eve religious bullshittery?
Well, it's not, because it speaks to the performative nature of being a woman that the whole book is talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, so if we're all performing, we're all fucking lying all the time. So she doesn't trust anything that comes from another woman.
And you see the world through the lens that you have assembled.
Correct. She knows she can't trust herself because she's lying to herself about who she is. So she assumes that everyone else must be lying too.
Wow.
But there's also a very specific thread about being lied to about motherhood. that it is some grand experience, that it
Yes.
is what she was meant to do in the world. And there is a very bitter disconnect for her. Clearly, as you're reading, you can see that she's experienced postpartum depression and she's not getting any help for it. She's never, like, it is never directly talked about, but it is so clear that we have some mental health issues going on. She
Okay.
neither seeks support nor has anyone who could support her. There is only reliance on the Bible. I want to read one of the passages that covers the pain of being lied to by her mother. So, Natalie, our main character, is sitting outside with her teenage daughter. This is the teenage daughter that she suddenly has in the 1800s. So, she doesn't know her that well. But here they are sitting outside on the front porch, and her daughter asks, "Has anyone ever lied to you?" I consider the question, which feels structurally like a thin sheet of ice over a deep body of water. Any movement, and we could both fall through. I think of my mother sitting at the edge of the hospital bed when I was 20 years old. Soon you'll feel like yourself again. Young. I was so young then. Young enough to think my mother was telling the truth. But she was pretending, wasn't she? Always pretending. Though I don't blame her for it or for waiting until just the right moment to let me in on the secret. It's all a vital game, isn't it? No, more than a game. It's the long, golden string of insincerity that threads together the entire human race. A shared agreement between women to insist back and forth in endless conversations that this thing we spend our whole lives preparing for, the thing we were born for, is anywhere close to what we thought it would be. And do you know the truth beneath that secret? The water beneath the ice? It never stops. You never age out of it. Your mother lies to you, and then you lie to your children, and your children lie to their children, and then you are an old woman looking back at your own life, lying to yourself. A lifetime of drowning, and then you are dead.
Oh, Natalie.
Natalie, there's a lot in there. It's a bit brutal on women, I have to say. The whole book. She's grappling with it all and does it in some ways that there are times when she also offers a forgiving perspective. So I do want to share that from time to time. She also writes this: people lie for all kinds of reasons. They lie to hurt people and to help people, and sometimes because they can't bear the truth. So that I was like, that is correct. Sometimes people are lying to themselves simply because they cannot look at the reality of it. And like, I'm not a mother, so I can't say anything for sure. I certainly cannot judge. I don't know what that experience is like, but I can say that I had an awareness in my 20s that at that time, it's changed since then, but at that time, no one ever seemed to write about or talk about motherhood being anything but great. It was not, it was just an unspeakable, maybe reality. If it was your reality, that might be true, but you were not to speak of it.
Oh
If
my God.
anything, do you feel that, Susan? Like, it for a period of time when we were younger, you hadn't heard anything but good things about it?
Well, it's so interesting as you're saying all this, Laura. I'm thinking, yes, that it's all presented as sort of this Hallmark miracle, Mother's Day miracle. And I had from a very young age my own perception where I was like, this seems exhausting. This seems
Yeah.
blah. And I knew from a really young age, I was like, this is not for me. And so I just had my own quiet, intuitive truth about
Yeah.
how I perceived it. But I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think that I think that there are probably miraculous elements to being a mother, but it's not until fairly recently, honestly, fairly recently, that where I have peers and contemporaries who are mothers who are speaking honestly about
That's right.
the ups and the downs of it.
That's right. And
Yeah.
making it more acceptable to speak their truth, whatever that truth may be. And that can
Yeah.
include like, hey, yes, I love being a mother. My life didn't end and shouldn't have to end once I, brought this child into the world. There's more life to live with that child in mind. But I was the opposite, Suze. I always assumed that I would have kids. And like I was the neighborhood babysitter. I think we've talked about that. Like I was
Yes.
up until like literally till the day I left for college, there would be like 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds knocking on our front door and saying, "Can Laura come play?" And I would be like, "Yes, I can." And I'm out the door and I'm playing with the kids. And I just assumed that I would. And I assumed that I would know when the time was right. But I distinctly remember I was sitting in, and I know the office, the conference room at Blue Man Group. I was sitting
The
in the
latitude and the
office.
longitude.
I totally know the day that I was like, you can say that? We were, I don't know, a meeting, meetings never started on time. So we would just, bullshit and talk about stuff until we started. And I remember I was in a room with a few like friends and just coworkers. And one of the women said, "Oh God, I don't fucking want kids." And I am not kidding you. I gasped. I was like, you don't? And she was like, "No, I don't." I mean, she was just one of the, she was from
Yeah.
Boston. She
Yeah.
was like, "I don't fucking whatever." She just was like, "I'm going to say whatever."
Yeah.
And I had this moment, Susan, where I was like, pause and wait. The sky did not fall. No, lightning did not strike her down. I'm watching, I'm waiting. Nothing
Yeah.
bad happened.
Yeah.
So that was truly a moment I was like, wow, you can say that. Like I knew that certain people thought that. I just was like, you can say it out loud.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, part of it is because like I remember the only quote unquote negative things that I was told about it was like, if anything, they would say, "Oh, yeah, of course, childbirth is painful, but God has taken care of that. God's made it so that once you go through it, you forget how painful it was. Like you literally don't remember how painful it was. You just remember the beauty of it." And they used to make jokes that like, oh, if women really knew how painful it was, or if they could remember how painful it was, they wouldn't have children or they wouldn't have more than one. So this book really brings all of that to life. It's like a collective secret that everyone agreed to keep for generations. When I was old enough to understand what my own mother went through, not just in childbirth, but what she gave up in order to have kids, I got some perspective on, frankly, like why she might have resented me. And when I could really understand that as an adult, I thought that's legit. That is completely legit. She went to college to be an art major. She went for one semester, met my dad, got married, dropped out of school. She gave up her life at 19 years old to have her first child and her second child at age 21. On the one hand, I knew that she wanted us to have access to more things than what she had in her life. But on the other, I felt her anger that she didn't get to do or be all the things that she had dreamt of.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that as a child, but I certainly do now.
Yeah.
So after reading this book, I felt grateful for my mom in this way. We had, complicated relationship, but she never tried to persuade me that motherhood was nothing but a beautiful thing. She didn't have rose-colored glasses about it. She expressed, sometimes a bit too often, how hard it was, how unfulfilling at times, how much she had given up. So it was kind of like my mom's generation that was like, we're going to start maybe speaking the truth a little bit, just a little
Yeah.
bit at a time. So the next topic the book covers on the current modern nostalgia for a quote unquote simpler past.
Yeah.
I certainly get the longing for a pre-cell phone, pre-constantly online past. I genuinely long for those days of like running around outside. Nobody knows where you are or how to reach you. You don't even know what time it is unless you stop to ask somebody. There is so much joy in that. I miss the sense of being fully present with people or fully present with myself because I could simply be away doing things, being in the
Yeah.
world, getting lost in my own thoughts.
Yeah.
But this longing for the days when men were men and women were women, ladies, as the book will illustrate, we can dream bigger. Let's not go backwards. The days of yore mean you have no bank account. You own nothing in your name. Your time is not your own. You are trapped and have no way of making your own choices. You don't like the way your husband is treating you. What do you think you're going to do about it? If you could bake a better sourdough to get him to treat you more kindly, if you could cut the grocery bill in half and still feed the family, he might be nicer to you. If you could get those cows milked before sunrise, no, you're not doing anything about it. You're sucking it up, buttercup. When it comes to a husband, you get what you get and you don't get upset. The manual labor, the physical hardship, the lack of autonomy over any aspect of your body, your mind, your life, just
your money.
Enough said about all that, ladies. Let us dream of a better future. We are not going to find it in the past. I promise. So let me go back to the theme I mentioned earlier, the idea of performing a particular role, especially the online performance.
Yeah.
The book really weaves the fact that most women are performing a role in many areas of their life, whether they're aware of it or not. And many are making the choice to be performing a role online, crafting a digital persona. It brings up incredible awareness of how different we are when we are being watched or when we want to be watched, how we might believe things would be different if people were watching us. I came across this interview between Lee Stein and Fortessa Latifa, the author of the book Like, Follow, Subscribe. Fortessa said, "When I watch mom influencers perform motherhood online, it seems so much more glamorous and peaceful than my own motherhood. Sometimes when I'm doing the dishes or filling bottles or folding the laundry, I imagine a time lapse of chores being done, common style of video on those accounts, and it motivates me. In the writing of this book, I've occasionally found myself narrating my day for an imaginary audience like the mom influencers and family vloggers I've studied. And then we went out for a walk because it's so important to get outside. I think as I strapped my daughter into my Ergo baby, #sponsored if I was a true influencer, we walked for 2 miles. I got my steps in and E loved looking around the neighborhood. After that, it was time to start our bedtime routine with a bath. I watch myself from above like some kind of omnipresent God. I imagine a world in which my motherhood is commissionable and perfect and linked, where the work of a mother is valued. In the imagined world, I am not lonely. I have thousands of friends waiting in the screen of my phone." That got me really thinking about what it is doing to us to be watched or to want to be watched. You remember when Madonna came out with that documentary, the first of its kind?
Remember Warren Beatty?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Warren Beatty said what?
She doesn't want to live off camera. Yeah.
It was prophetic.
It was
prophetic. He saw the world as it was evolving, and he said it was such disgust, and everyone talked about it.
Yeah.
And look at the whole world now.
It's amazing that that moment was captured.
It's amazing.
And
it's
released.
Truly amazing. And released.
That was not lost in the edit. Yeah.
That was the moment. This also made me think of something a friend of mine told me. I've thought about this a lot. I dropped it in my Spark file, of course, but for now, it's just rolling around my brain because I'm not sure what to do with it. But he shared this scientific article with me about how, in some recent research, they have proven that at the cellular level, like literally atoms behave differently when they are being observed. Think about this. It's not just a self-conscious awareness of being watched. They have proven that our cells behave differently when being observed. I'm going to totally butcher this research, so please enjoy. But basically, they were tracking the movement of atoms in a box, for example. And the movement of all of these atoms was random, all over the place. It was unpredictable. Then they added a small hole where a camera lens could watch the atoms. And the moment you added the camera, the atoms somehow knew they were being observed and they got in line, literally, and suddenly moved in an organized and predictable fashion. I have been thinking about this for quite some time now. I think they use this research to justify the uber surveillance world we live in now. We'll all behave in a more orderly fashion if we are observed. While some of us older folks can forget that we're being observed, I know I do, the younger generation have such an awareness of being watched and a fear of being caught on camera doing something quote unquote embarrassing, like dancing, or the possibility of someone filming them like flirting and asking someone out and being rejected. They've literally changed the way they live their lives for fear of becoming a meme.
When you're saying this, I'm thinking about a much darker version of this, which is police officers who are held accountable, maybe for the first time in generations, inflicting violence against other people. And if there wasn't a camera present, that all would have just gotten buried.
That is correct. So there are some maybe just enough justifiable, uses that we're like, hey, that's a good result of it. But what we're giving up in exchange, I think it's really worth thinking about. So yes, we want to be watched, but only if we can control the outcome or control how we look.
How we're perceived, how the narrative unspools.
That's right. So this research also makes me wonder if, for example, the productivity technique called mirroring or body doubling, where a person with ADHD works alongside another person, utilizing their presence to boost focus, motivation, and accountability. Does that have anything to do with this? Like if at the cellular level, we work differently when we know we're being observed?
Well, it also makes me think of the recent Spark that we did about time to think, where Nancy Klein posits that when someone is thinking, when they're being observed in this very encouraging, quiet, supportive way, it improves their thinking. The observation improves their thinking. So I think,
that's right.
Yes, cells, but I also think, yes, Nancy Klein. It's interesting.
To me, it also gives additional credence to the job of acting. If you're not even conscious of this, but you're going against everything happening in the cellular level in order to make it seem like you are not aware that you're being watched. I'm just like, wow, like it's just much deeper than we ever thought.
And I often say one of my favorite things about the actors that I perceive as being most gifted, I love it when people appear unobserved.
That's right.
So that's like one of my biggest compliments for an actor is, oh my God, they just appear unobserved. Do you know how hard that is?
It's harder than you even realize because
it's hard on a cellular level.
It's hard on a cellular level.
Yeah.
You're going against everything inside of you that's like, no, we behave this way when we're observed.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what we make of all of this, but I hope it's been as sparkish for you as it has for me. I have one more little mini spark to share that may or may not be related to this. I don't know for sure. As much as I love my armchair psychology, I'm not actually trained to know whether there is a connection here or not. But I came across something else this week, and my brain started asking, what is behind this desire to be watched? What is missing in our experience that makes that so tempting or validating?
Yeah.
And what could help? So, when I read about this little bit of research, I started to connect some dots. Before I tell you the research, I'm going to tell you that I have a little sign in my office here that says something like, "This isn't a rehearsal. This is the show. And girl, we're live." And the reason this little sign resonated for me, that's not exactly what it says, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
It resonated for me because probably for the first 30 years of my life, I had a feeling of being disconnected from my life. It
Yeah.
was as if, that feeling of like, this is cool, but when my real life starts, it's going to get really good, right?
That's right.
This is just the warm up. This is the precursor to the
Yep.
life. But of course, I began to understand, no, girl, this
This is it.
your life. You
Yeah.
got to own it. You got to live it. So, the research I came across this week, this relates back to the motherhood theme and the desire to be watched theme in the book. There's a developmental psychologist at Columbia University who spent his career studying the first 18 months of life, not entirely because he was interested in infant or brain development, but because what he found was that what happens in those first 18 months determines one of the most fundamental qualities of adult experience. It determines whether or not you feel fully present in your own life or somehow absent from it. He called it the sense of core self. Most people assume that this develops automatically, but it does not. The core self is built in the first 18 months of life. It is built by being seen genuinely.
Laura.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
We were at a restaurant recently and there was a family assembling. Two men came in and they were pushing a stroller with a baby in it. And the men sat down at the table, stroller next to the table, and they both started looking at their phones. And I looked over and I was looking at the baby and I was saying quietly to Nathan, I was like, put down your fucking phones and look at that baby. That baby needs to be looked at. And then other family members came in and the women started like looking at the baby and engage. And the baby was, that baby was thirsty. Like that baby was wanted.
Yes.
And that's why it was looking across the table all the way over to me. And I was like, I don't even know if that baby's eyes can focus yet, but it knows that I'm over here being like, hey, baby, hey,
Seeing you.
baby. Then we
Yes.
were in a different restaurant like a week later, and there was at a table behind me, there was a woman with a baby. That was the entire party at this table was the woman and a baby in a stroller. And I could hear her through my whole meal. She was like, what are you? Da, 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 like was engaging with the baby. And
Yes.
I from time to time would look back and they were just having a fucking blast together. And I turned back to Nathan and I was like, that's how you look at a baby.
That's how you look at a baby.
Yeah.
It is about.
And I don't even have kids and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I was like, gentlemen, look at that baby.
You are spot on, backed up by this research. It is about, in these 18 months, being seen genuinely, accurately by another person whose face reflects back what the infant is actually feeling.
Yeah.
It's called mirroring. Every time a caretaker mirrors back the excitement, the happiness the baby is feeling.
Yes.
Or who mirrors their curiosity of like, ooh, what is that? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
What is that? Right?
Yeah.
It tells the baby, you are real. Your experience is real. And without this, the baby's sense of self doesn't form in the same way. We actually need the sense of being seen accurately in order for our core self to coalesce. If it doesn't form correctly in adulthood, the person will experience a feeling of being somehow absent from your own life, present but not quite there, like you're watching your own experience from a slight distance. It's
Wow.
not disassociation in the clinical sense, it's more subtle than that, but also more pervasive.
Mm.
Many people have completely normalized it. They might not even realize that there's another option. There is the option of being fully here, fully real, fully alive. The good news, the experience of being fully present inside your own life can be restored in adulthood. And it's through the same mechanism that should have been built originally, being accurately seen by another person, not advised or analyzed, just seen.
Huh.
Even better news, he found that we can, in fact, do it for ourselves. We can self-witness and build this core self, and it takes 60 seconds. Just sit quietly, close your eyes, ask yourself, what am I actually experiencing right now? Not
Wow.
not what you think you should be experiencing or what would be appropriate to experience or what I plan to experience later, but what am I experiencing right now? What is actually here right now in my body, in my life? Name it, not to analyze it, just name it, to witness it. I'm feeling fatigued. I feel weepy and sleepy. I feel anxious about something that I can't put my finger on. I feel the specific loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't quite see me. Whatever is actually there, name it without judgment, without requiring it to be different. That naming is the mirroring that your nervous system is waiting for.
That first baby's going to have to do some of that work when they're grown up. I'm telling you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. So the experience of being seen, even by your own attention, produces
Wow.
something in the nervous system that nothing else replicates. The felt sense of being real, of your experience mattering. So I don't know if you're someone who has the pull to be watched, maybe that is speaking to the desire to be seen,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps learning this simple technique to be that mirror for yourself might help you know that you can be your own witness. You can know that your own life matters. Please don't be hard on yourself. This study found that the sense of being real is not a philosophical position, it's a neurological state, and it is one that you can heal. That is my spark, Susan. A long and winding road back to yesteryear.
Thank you for that. That is freaking amazing. And to bring it all the way back to the top of the Illume Showcase, again, I think about something as delightful as those cheese pairings inspired
Yes.
by each of those Illumineers, where it's sort of like, here's the
Yes.
pairing, and then Anne Marie's description of why this represents the artist with their picture framed next to it. And I'm like, each artist, I saw them go taste their pairing, read their description, and feel so seen.
So seen. And it says you are real and you matter.
Oh, God. Laura, that was so fun. So
Thanks
fun.
for going on the ride. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Bottom line, do you recommend that book?
If any of those topics interested you, yes.
Yeah.
Now, you may have strong feelings one way or the other, but I always think that makes for a worthy read. You know, even if you come out fighting, even if you come out swinging, like, oh, that book, that to me is a worthy experience and it's all information, tells you something.
Thank you for all of that. And thank you for that book rec. I think that's it. This fascinating episode of the Spark File was made on the lands of the Lenape and the Mohican people. And as always, we hope it put another bunch of sparks in your file. Listen, if there's a spark you'd like us to explore, or if you'd like to learn more about how to work with us to accomplish your creative goals, you can email getcreative@thesparkfile.com or reach us through our website, thesparkfile.com.
We'll even happily take your feedback, but you know the price of admission. First, you got to share a creative risk that you have taken recently.
You can follow us on social at The Spark File, and be sure, if you have a minute, to subscribe, rate, and 5-star review this podcast. It really helps other listeners to find us. Also, if you liked this podcast, we hope you'll share it with people that you love. And if you didn't like it, go back to yesteryear, before this podcast existed. Get out of here.
If something lights you up and gets your creative sparks flying, we're writing you a forever permission slip to make that thing that's been knocking at your door. It's your turn to take that spark and fan it into a flame.
You know, you got to take it and
make it.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark